Were you freaking out a little bit when Celsius stopped their withdrawals? Well, I kind of was too, but there's some good news in the pipeline, and we're going to talk about that and what it means on today's Frugal BC. What is up, guys? Frugal BC coming at you. A little while ago, we covered Celsius stopping withdrawals. This happened in June. I believe it was June 12th. They stopped withdrawals because they were short on liquidity. There's some major problems as the price of Bitcoin crashed. It exposed some of the things that they were probably doing that were just a little outside of where they should have been. And we learned some good news today that I think is going to give a lot of investors who are freaking out some hope and some solace. It definitely gave me some hope. So we're going to talk about that. Before we do that, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and like button for the algorithms, subscribe button so you can see all our content as we come out with it. And we're always mostly we talk about Algorand. We do talk about other stuff, and Celsius is one of the projects I have covered on this channel. And so I was pretty disheartened to learn that they had stopped withdrawals and that major things were happening. They've actually laid off some employees, and yeah, it's not been good. And interesting, there's some people who are diehard Celsius fans who are kind of mad at any bad news that comes up, and it's like, well, sorry, but you know, when things are good, we'll say it's good. When things are bad, we'll say it's bad. That's what we're going to do on the channel. Let's get into it right now. Okay, so this is actually, and I've pulled this up on a couple different platforms, so it seems to be legit. This is the assets of Celsius. So as you can see, debt 82 million DAI, here's the ratio, collateral, etc., value invested. Let's go down. This is the salient number. This is the liquidation price. Now, as you recall, they were in danger of being liquidated, and that would have been really, really bad for us as people who hold our coin on Celsius, because as you know, withdrawals were stopped. So if they were liquidated, basically we'd be screwed. Even if they had some money left, that's going to go to investors first. You and I were going to get paid last. Now, I've heard that they're going to try to pay investors first once this all gets sorted out, and that's very good news. But this is actually even better news. The fact that the liquidation is this low, that means, what do I mean by this, by the way? That means the price of Bitcoin would have to fall this low now for them to get liquidated. That's because they paid off enough debt to get the price that low. So you might think, well, what's to stop it from going to that price? Well, it very much could, but typically what we've seen is that in bear markets, Bitcoin will fall to 85% of its all-time high. I remember it going up to 69,000. So let's take, I punched that into the percentage decrease calculator, and 10,000 would be an 85.5% decrease from the all-time high. I don't remember it going over 69,000, maybe it going a little bit higher. This isn't exact science anyway, because there's nothing that says it couldn't theoretically go below 5,000. Just based on past performance is unlikely to. But remember that this is all rules of thumb. So anything can happen. It could theoretically go, it could go to 1,000. We don't know. I don't think it will. I think it's unlikely. I don't think we're going to see it drop much below 15,000, maybe to 10, in my opinion. Again, that's all speculation at this point. That's all anyone can really do. So let's look at the news, because there's some people kind of unhappy about this. Let's start with Fortune. Metal crypto lender Celsius reportedly laying off 150 as insolvency worries mount. It looks like the insolvency part hopefully won't happen, and it's very likely that they cut payroll in order to free up some cash to pay back some of this. Payroll is pretty expensive. I don't know if it's probably likely a combination of things, and this is just one of them, just to be clear. But let's take a look down. Yeah, so American Israeli crypto lender Celsius laid off some 150 employees as it battles a financial crisis that saw halt customer withdrawals last month, Calculus reported over the weekend. The firm has about 650 staff members listed on LinkedIn, which including executives, meaning 23% of the company was affected. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good, that's a good way to ballpark it, because there's probably a bunch of people that just don't list themselves on LinkedIn or have their job on LinkedIn. So but it's probably a good number of them do, I'd imagine. I think it's probably helpful for them. So hard to say if that's exactly the staff they had, but that's a pretty big cut. And it sucks. It certainly sucks for those 150 people. And I don't want to make light of that, but it's probably the right thing to do when your company's reaching insolvency, as much as as painful that's going to be for the people involved and for the people making that decision. It's not easy. So that likely helped free up some cash because labor is really expensive. Let's see. Yeah, in June, it paused withdrawals, citing extreme market conditions, which, by the way, is their own making. So it's exploring options to preserve and protect assets. And apparently, Goldman Sachs is leading a $2 billion raise in order to purchase Celsius distressed assets. But FTX apparently passed on a similar deal. So take that for what it's worth. They're not the only one. A bunch of them, like Coinbase, laid off a whole bunch of employees. And there's actually other exchanges that also have paused withdrawals or are at least limiting them. So they're not the only one. In fact, it says it right over here, I think. Yeah, this is one of them. There's a bunch of other ones. So not totally without precedent, but still very scary. Kind of sucks. And then there's this one from Financial News. It says, Celsius's customers are losing hope of seeing their money again as crypto meltdown continues. And funny thing is, this was just posted today. And I don't know if they're just not following the chain, because several people have pointed this out. It's not just that one post. That liquidation price down to a very manageable place. So I think that's very positive. But I'm going to tell you, people are going to flee this thing. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, some regulators in Texas, Alabama, Kentucky, New Jersey, and Washington State are investigating Celsius' decision to freeze customer accounts. Did they do the same with Robinhood? Because Robinhood did the same, or I should say they froze trading on certain stocks. The one thing I want to bring this out, besides the fact that they don't seem to be up on the latest news, is I want to point this paragraph out right here. Ala Drixney, if I apologize for the name pronunciation, says she has 6 figures worth of Bitcoin and Ethereum, her life savings tied up in a Celsius account. And of course they paused withdrawals, and she said she couldn't sleep for 2 days. Yeah. So I don't mean to make light of, I feel very bad for this woman, but this is why all along I've been saying, don't put your stuff in one place, especially on crypto. And frankly, this really makes me going against the grain of crypto YouTubers, but I'm telling you, don't put all your money in crypto. This should be a small part of your portfolio. I'll say this over and over again. You guys can hate me, I don't care. There's nothing wrong with having a nice steady run of low-cost index funds. If you don't want to the easiest way to probably do it is through Wealthfront. I have a link in my description if you want to use that and get a little benefit, or just go on your own. It's fine. A Betterment is really good too. I don't have a affiliate for that. Either one is fine. They both perform well. And it's really simple. It's just they just invest. They kind of balance it out for you with some stocks and some bonds, but it's mostly like these low cost index funds. So they won't cost you a lot. You won't pay a lot on the upfronts, and you'll get, you get some decent solid returns. Obviously right now we're in a down market, and we've had them before. We will have them again, but over time they just steadily earn money. They steadily grow, and that's what you want going in the background when you play around with stuff like crypto. So does it suck if I never get my Celsius coins back? Yeah, it will suck, but it won't suck as much as I put my life savings in it. So, again, and I don't mean to pick on this particular person or anyone else who has done that. I have sympathy for you. I feel really bad about it, but also let's let this be a lesson. Let's learn this lesson from other people. If this isn't you, learn this lesson from other people, that having all your stuff in a company like this, very scary. And I was kind of thinking Celsius would say something about this, and they didn't. This is their last one, their last post, and their last tweet was also on June 30th. So they didn't tweet anything either. And it was just saying that they're focused and working as quickly as they can to stabilize liquidity and operations. Sounds like they did some work on the liquidity end, so that's good. Very, very positive. With that being said, I mean, we're not out of the woods yet, so to speak. What can we learn from this, right? One thing we can learn is that maybe some of those too good to be true returns were actually too good to be true, or they were based on, I bought the notion that they did some Bitcoin mining, and that allowed them to, do these kind of returns. But I didn't question, well, wait a minute, if they were making this money just off of Bitcoin mining just to pay people a percentage, Well, like, why wouldn't you just make money off of Bitcoin mining then? Why go through this whole thing? I guess the question was they were making more, but they were making some bad, dangerous bets. So yeah, I think we're going to see some regulation come out of this, and that may or may not be a bad thing. I think it's, I don't think that you can regulate the blockchain, but you can regulate the actors on it. And maybe they should have to at least show that they have assets to cover some of these losses and be prepared for bull bear markets, because guess what, they happen. I don't know what his premise was based on, but 85% from an all-time high is like 10,000. So it can go that low. I don't think it's likely to go lower than that. I don't think it's even likely to get to 10,000, to be honest. I think it's gonna stay higher than that, but I could be wrong. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know your experience with Celsius, how you feel. Am I totally full of crap? Let me know. And as always, hey, stay safe out there, guys, and we will see you in the future.